If you follow me on Twitter, and you should, you've probably seen among all the Star Trek tweets that I enjoy video games, especially the retro variety. Maybe it's the ties of nostalgia tugging on my heartstrings, or maybe there were some truly special eras in video game history. But I'm fascinated by older video games, and nothing makes my day quite like finding a hidden gem from years gone by. And since I'm trying to have a variety of videos on my channel outside of Star Trek, don't worry, there will be plenty of those. And since I'm trying to find different video formats outside of reviews, and there will also be plenty of those as well, I figure, why not talk about my video game collections? That's what I'm doing today, and I'm starting small with my Nintendo 64 collection. Now, I was more of a Sega kid growing up. I grew up with the Sega Genesis and the Sega CD. I mean, look at this collection. Oh, alright. There, you happy? So over the years of retro game collecting, I hadn't picked up a bunch of Nintendo stuff. It's not that I don't like Nintendo, I'm just drawn to other things first. But I have picked up 10 Nintendo 64 games over the years, and here they are. Now, I know what you're thinking, Waz, you can't just have your pile of games right there, there's no surprise. Not to worry, my dear viewer, I have thought of that. There we go. Now, let's get started. Up first is 1080, a snowboarding game. I remember playing this one a lot, though I don't remember getting far into it. The game opens with a shot of a snowboarder tearing his way down a hill. Check out that soundtrack!
1080!
This music is extreme for all those extreme stunts you'll be doing. The game has a couple of different modes, which for this video, I only looked at Trick Attack, Training, and Match Race. Whatever mode you select, you have 5 boarders lounging around a lounge, I guess, to choose from, each with some interesting sounds.
What's up? Yeah?
Okay.
Once you select a boarder, a board, and a track, it's time to ride. Now, I'm not sure if I lost my skills over time, or I was just always terrible at this game, but, well... At least I'm decent on the training course, so I have that going for me. Well, that's enough of that. What's next? All-Star Baseball 2001.
It's called baseball.
Baseball? What is this?
I was afraid you'd ask that.
Now, I'm not a big sports person, but my dad likes baseball, and I played softball growing up. Not that I was very good at it. But I have some fond memories of playing All-Star Baseball 2000. But I have the 2001 game here, which I actually got free with my N64 a few years back. I'm a Chicagoan, so naturally I picked the Chicago White Sox. No, the White Sox.
Welcome to Comiskey Park in Chicago.
Oh, that's sweet. It hasn't been called Comiskey Park since 2003. And it hasn't even been called US Cellular Field since 2016. I recognize a couple of these names, namely Paul Konerko and Frank Thomas, before he appeared in commercials. I was striking people out, but I couldn't get any runs either, so top of the 3rd inning, 0-0, it's time to move on. Okay, so what's next? NHL Breakaway 98. So here's the thing, I really don't know much about hockey. I bought this game because, again, I played it as a kid and it was super cheap. And as a result, I'm truly terrible at this game. I don't know if it was a setting that I didn't set up or what, but it was almost like I couldn't even control my players. At the very least, I didn't end up in the penalty box, so I have that going for me, which is nice. It's worth noting that this game does feature fights between players, but I didn't collect any footage of that. But check out that theme song! Okay, now that I've embarrassed myself with my lack of sports knowledge, let's try for something I'm more familiar with. Pokemon Snap. I didn't own this one growing up, but I rented the crap out of it. I loved this game. You play as Todd Snap, a Pokemon photographer who only appears in a couple of episodes in the anime. You have to take pictures for Professor Oak here. You go to different areas around the Kanto region? I don't know, Pokemon region names just escape me. And you take various pictures of various Pokemon. This was back in the day when there were only 151 Pokemon. It was a simpler time. You ride on this tram, snapping pictures of different Pokemon as they appear before you reach the end and go through a Stargate to go back to Professor Oak. And then you pick out which pictures you want him to grade. You get points for various criteria like if the Pokemon is centered in the picture or if it's doing a crazy pose. This game deviates from the standard Pokemon formula, but it doesn't make it any less of a fun game. This game will definitely have you coming back.
Welcome back.
Do you have enough of Pokemon? Well, that's too bad because I also have Pokemon Stadium. Now, a bit of a confession. I haven't done a whole lot with this game. When I bought the game, I erased the previously saved data on it, wanting to do my own work. What I didn't realize is that you're supposed to play this game with the original Game Boy games, so I erased data that probably could have helped me. Oh well. Despite that, it's still a decently fun game. This game is mostly the battle system from most Pokemon games without the story or plot. There are also some mini-games that I have to check out at some point. I'll have to go back and try to play through this game without the Game Boy games and see if I could do it. Now for a little story time. It was back in 2016 and everyone was jumping on the Star Fox bandwagon. Buzz was all around about Star Fox on the Wii U. So naturally I jumped on the bandwagon and bought Star Fox. 64 that is. As a fan of sci-fi, I love a good sci-fi adventure. And I always liked cute animals, so why not combine the two? Well, not quite like that. Star Fox is a rail shooter game with some moments of free flying. I can't help but see a couple of Star Wars references buried in this game, though.
It's about time you showed up, Fox. You're the only hope for our world.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
And who could also forget this meme?
Do a barrel roll!
This is definitely a fun game, and for something that might not be taken seriously with all the cute animal cast, it's a legit sci-fi adventure game. From a sci-fi rail shooter to a sci-fi racing game. Up next is Star Wars Pod Racer. Excuse me. Star Wars Episode 1 Racer. Did anyone seriously call it by its real name? Say what you want about the Phantom Menace or even the pod race scene that went on a little too long, but you can't deny that it gave us a pretty sweet game. Now you too can live out your dreams as Kid Anakin, racing all over the galaxy, probably winning bets for Qui-Gon and his massive gambling problem. I swear, I'm not as erratic of a driver as I am here. To be honest, I love this game, but I recommend playing the more recent ports for a much smoother experience. I can confirm the PS4 and Switch versions are pretty great. Playing the N64 version is kind of a clunky experience, but despite that, it's still a proud member of my collection. Also, check out Watto's rendition of the Cantina Band song. Okay, we've had enough of racing on the ground. Now let's take to the friendly skies in Star Wars Rogue Squadron. That's right, the one that started it all. You may recall that I did a review for Rogue Leader, the Rogue Squadron sequel, a while back, so you might see a review for this game in the future. While I picked up Rogue Leader and Rebel Strike in the last couple of years, Rogue Squadron I remember playing when it was fairly new. And let me say that after revisiting this game for this video, I now have a newfound appreciation for Rogue Leader and Rebel Strike. Don't get me wrong, Rogue Squadron is not a bad game, and in fact I'd even call it a classic N64 game. But it's certainly a much rougher experience than its successors. The graphics are rougher, the controls are rougher, and don't even get me started on the walkers. Lousy Empire. But there are some nice goodies in this game, like the crew bios, narrated by Bob Bergen, who voices Luke in most Star Wars games and does a nice approximation to Mark Hamill.
An excellent pilot, Wedge saved my life at the Death Star. and I owe him. I expect to see Wedge do great things for the rebellion.
And well, look who we have here!
Chewie, well, what are you doing here?
How you doing, kid? Thought I might give you a hand. This is my hometown, after all.
Yeah, sure, this game is a little rough around the edges, but seriously, if you love Star Wars and video games, you gotta try this game. Tired of me talking about Star Wars games? Well, I'd hate to disappoint you, but there's one more. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Shadows of the Empire is a video game based off of a mid-quill book in the Star Wars Expanded Universe. The video game, a Star Wars classic. The book, not so much. I know. The book certainly has its fans, but I got about halfway through it before moving on to something else. The game is actually pretty different from the book, following the character Dash Rendar, a mercenary working for the Rebel Alliance during Episode 5 and just before Episode 6. While most of the game is ground missions, there are a couple of space battles as well as a swoop bike level. There is also a PC version of the game, which in my opinion is the superior version of the game, with voiceovers and better graphics. However, the N64 version has some nice artwork in between levels that I really like. Honestly, I'd probably like the book more if it was more like the video game. Well, there's a sentence I never thought I'd say. Lastly is WWF Warzone. Ah yes, back when WWE was WWF, before the World Wildlife Fund had something to say about it. Growing up, my older siblings were WWF fans, so I recognize a couple of the names here. Steve Austin, Triple H, Ken Shamrock, and of course, The Rock. Well, of course I had to pick Rocky. The game plays like you would expect it. The wrestlers are introduced by Vince McMahon and JR, and the match begins. And yeah, I'm not sure there's much of a strategy other than button mashing in this game. And of course, it didn't do a whole lot of combos, mostly punching and kicking. If I did happen upon a special move, it was by complete chance. As you wrestle, you'll hear the crowd shout words of encouragement. It's also worth mentioning the truly terrifying graphics in this game. My gosh, Rocky! And yeah, that's pretty much it for this game. It's a wrestling game. Oh, that's my Nintendo 64 collection. It may be small, but it's mine. Now what about you? Did you play any of these games growing up? What did you love about the Nintendo 64, or maybe even not love? What are some games that I should look out for? Please feel free to reminisce in the comments section. As always, thanks for watching my video. If you like what you see, give me a like and subscribe to my channel. Tell your friends. Until next time...
It's only a game.